Station log. Date. Completely unknown. Entry number 1. My base is coming along pretty well. I've got some crops in the ground. Onyx. I have stashed everything. I managed to bootstrap myself some fabrication units. And I'm building out my base according to some plans I found in the capsule, signed by somebody named Venusian Gamer. Time. Time is odd. I'm on the moon. I know for sure that it takes about 4 weeks to go through a complete solar cycle. Because we're going around the Earth in about 4 weeks, and one side of the base is the Earth. So the Earth hangs there on the horizon because, well, that's where I landed on the moon. But the changes they made to my metabolism seem to be working. Maybe they went too far. It seems like we're getting the solar cycle 3 times per hour. Time goes by so quickly. So I'm getting maybe 10 minutes of sunlight, 10 minutes of shade, instead of the normal 14 days of sun and 14 days of shade that I was led to expect. The metabolism, interesting because my sensation of time is telling me it's about 20 minutes, noon. And I still have to eat and drink, basically once per solar cycle. So it feels like I'm eating frequently, even though I'm eating once a month. And this confuses me. So I really don't know how long I've been here. I haven't heard anything from Earth. Perhaps they've forgotten about it. Perhaps the changes they made to make my metabolism more line up with the moon mean I can no longer really understand them. I can't hear them. Or maybe it's just that I don't have a frickin' radio. You'd think they would have sent me with a radio. Well, as long as we're making a log entry, I'm going to do a quick review of what's going on. Start from the front porch. Probably should have my suit seat. Talk about what's going on in the airlock after we dealt with the. So as I was trained, first thing that I built when I got out of my capsule was the front porch. And currently it is all sealed up and it's actually made of airtight frames now because I got lazy and just made everything airtight that it was within reach at one point. I've got a nice furnace. And it's not automated yet, not any automation, but I can twiddle the knobs to pump gases into the furnace and out of the furnace, and I've got a holding tank where I can pump hot gases out of the furnace into the holding tank and bring them back. I've got a meter on it so I can see my temperatures and pressures are, so I know I need to not put more than, 60 kilopascal, 600? No, 60 megapascal. Anyway, I know not to overpressurize this. When I get a bunch of gases and maybe cool them down, notice I've got the radiator off. When I've got hot gases, I can put a radiator on. It'll slowly cool. But when I've got some gases, I can turn on this filtration unit and it will pull the gases out of the furnace storage, take any carbon dioxide that's available and in that tank over there. Currently, we have 400 kilopascals of pressure in the tank. And if I need to pick up some CO2, for instance, to use in my jetpack, there's a tank. And I'm waffling back and forth as to whether I want to use carbon dioxide or nitrogen in my jetpack. And I think it's going to come down to which gases I need more of. We've got a pressure regulator, so when I put a new tank in there, it'll fill it right up to 8,000 kilopascals, which is well under the tank, and then it will stop. Overfill these tanks, they can burst, and they cause damage to stuff. So that's my CO2. Anything left from the main gas. Oh, down here, kind of hidden away, that's a passive drain. If there's any liquid in the pipes, first set of pipes, it will drain it out. So anything that's not CO2, this air filter will pass back and onward. And here's my second filtration unit. I'm grabbing nitrogen. As I'm growing soybeans, I need to have some nitrogen in the atmosphere. Now, I know I can go out and mine up some nitrice, but if I've got tanks of it, it makes it so much easier. And I'm also looking forward to maybe chilling the nitrogen down, maybe cooling it and pressurizing it to get some liquid nitrogen to use coolant. We'll see about that. It depends. My current cooling solution seems to be working just fine, so there's no pressure there. Speaking of pressure, regulator to put up to 8,000 kilopascals in a nitrogen tank. So if we want to use nitrogen for our jetpacks, we can do that. Currently, as you see on the right, my jetpack is using nitrogen. So that's the furnace setup. Up on the ceiling, I have a whole bunch of solar panels. Depending on the time of the day, of course, during sunrise and sunset, some solar panels are going to obscure the other. Still get decent power out of the array. And pretty much unless you put all of your solar panels in one line, at some point during the day, some panels are going to shade others, so not a biggie. We have a total of 12 of them. At max capacity, they're half a kilowatt each, so that's 6 kilowatts. And their power is all being collected up and being sent in to a pair of station batteries here and here. And I just realized that I hooked this battery up to the wrong thing. This battery is directly feeding the internal station power, not through an APC. This battery is doing it properly, so he's feeding through the APC. I'm gonna do my next project will be to fix that. I need to worry about how I'm going to get this power over to my APC inputs and onto the bits. I think what I'm going to do in the very short term, I am just going to clip it away. Wire cutters. And I think I can just drop that down. Currently, I've got some other things going on. I may put an APC on them. So this station battery is now doing nothing. But that's okay. Keep him charged, and I will use him later. Still up top, we've got our main battery. This is the first APC I put in, and you can see that I am planning on the output of this APC possibly exceed 5 kilowatts, but currently output of the station battery. We have an APC here. which is doing nothing but providing battery backup power for our control system. This control system controls solar panels. We've got a solar sensor, and our little control programming here reads from the solar sensor, works out where the sun is, and turns all of our solar panels to face the sun. And we just crossed midnight, so you notice that all our panels just turned around to face where the sun is going to rise. At the very tippy top, we have a beacon, and I am not sure if I need to actually hook up both of the beacon things, but I was having some confusion about it because I know that when you get far away, you see like a bright spot above it. I wasn't seeing it, so I hooked the whole thing up, and then I wandered far away, and the spot was there, so it could have been that it was right all along. Now, this normal cable, you'll notice that it's not hooked up to this battery. It was hooked up to the other battery, and that was an error. I fixed that. I do want to be able to turn off base power from inside the airlock, and having that connected to that battery over there made it so I couldn't do it. We may need to figure out another system. But the next complexity, we have to go into the airlock for that. Power comes in from our station battery. Station battery is plural once I get that properly. And it may be a lot of surge current. We could have all these batteries charging at once, and they could draw quite a lot of power. I want to be able to do. We then feed into two distinct APCs. This APC exists only to provide battery backup power to the airlock. So you notice it's plumbed to the airlock doors and the sensor. Trying to not leave this laying around. We've got the airlock gas sensor. We've got a vent to exhaust the airlock into the base. We've got our control system. And I've got a nice little shelf there I can put things on as I move in and out of the base. And my intention was to put things up there I need to grab on the way. Other APC, APC B, is for the base. And you can't see it here, but its power goes down and back into that solid and goes out to the base here. So that APC B, the base APC, is providing power for a filtration system outside. It's providing power to the furnace. It is also providing power to the beacon. And it's sliding all the way across here, all the way down to the right-hand side of the base. And my intention is for this to go all the way down and for it to drop in. So we will have a drop from the top edge of the base, top edge of the base, for base power. It'll be a secondary power drop. The primary power drop is going to be coming in inside. And of course, a nice shelf. So, for instance, we need pipe radiators from time to time to cool down gases. And I just leave them there when they're done. Someday I'll probably automate that. I get some radiators that will cause to deploy and retract. My intention there would be to have my gases running at, say, 300 Kelvin, so they're nice and cool, so I can use them safely inside the base. Now, presuming that the CO2 is safe to use inside the base, and 313 is a little warm, but I have a pipe carrying CO2 into the. That's the outside. Go inside. Always on the way in, I check my batteries. We see that I have a couple of things that are low. I will recharge. Yeah, heavy mining drill takes a large battery. I've been using it a lot lately. In my jumpsuit, I've got a portable light, which also takes a lot of. I keep it on all the time. We have enough power coming in from our solar panels. I just don't bother turning things off. Our batteries are full. I'm going to drop my helmet and my suit up on the shelf. I'm considering building a suit rack at some point to automate some of the stuff I do. But, yeah, neither here nor there. Over here on the left, this confusingly labeled thing that says tank fill is I put a canister in there and I turn on this filter and it will take whatever's in the canister and it will pump it out into the base air. And normally I do that with my waste tank from my suit. I'll just switch that up whenever the waste tank in the suit starts getting full. This valve allows carbon dioxide in from the furnace gases. And down here, I have parked a tablet, which tells me that currently I have 0.4% CO2. That's a little low. I'm going to give myself a jolt of CO2. The one-way valve, I don't want base gases creeping back through the pipe. It literally hit me with a little bit more, even though my temperature is still quite okay. Gases, even when they're hot, they don't carry a lot of heat. They may carry a lot of temperature, but not. I prefer to leave my machines turned off. I was just doing something before I started the log entry. We have an auto lathe, we have a pipe bender, we have an electronics printer, and a tool printer. I've made good use of them. Out here we have a workstation that I can use for writing code to go into chips for various things. And our water. Carrying my tablet with me, but this carries quite a bit of water. We'll have to check this periodically. If I start running low on water, I can toss some ice inside the ice crusher. Water ice gives us mostly water. It also gives us some nitrogen, which we just vent into the air. That's fine. And if we're thirsty, we can hit the drinking fountain. Here we have our hydroponics area. 1 row of potatoes, soybean, and 3 rows. This is a lot more plants than I need to keep oxygen going. So these plants they will inspire carbon dioxide and they'll exhale oxygen. And this is a very nice surplus of oxygen. So once in a while, I do have to depressurize the bait. Over here, I've got some storage for seeds. I'm going to try to keep my farm full until I have all the seeds I need. And then we'll just, plant whenever we start getting low inside the fridge. I'm not going to open that. We've got some potatoes and some soybeans and some wheat in the refrigerator ready to go. Processor, grind some wheat into flour, crush some soybeans, get some soy oil. Oh, you need to be careful on soy oil. Get exactly the number of beans you want. Oil, because bottles of oil can't be split. I don't think they can be combined, except maybe if I had a 5 and a 5, I could toss them both and put in the oven and have 10 oil. Anyway, so you don't want to be crushing a lot of soybeans. You end up with a big bottle of soy oil, and if your agents don't come out exactly perfect, you end up with kind of a mess of recovery. I haven't built a centrifuge, so I don't even know if I can centrifuge cooking. Better just to have the right cooking quantities to start. Packager. I thought, for instance, for canned French fries, I expected to put in French fries in a can. And instead it wants steel, oil, and potatoes. I'm a little confused. Did I miss an upgrade somewhere? A downgrade? Did I something weird? So we can deconstruct it. It doesn't say that there's a way to upgrade it. So I'm guessing that these are just the recipes. So yeah, if I want to make canned French fries, I just need to take the steel and the potatoes and the oil and put them right in there. No oven step. What I've done so far, the only thing I've cooked so far, I made a few. Those are real simple. Cereal bars are just flour. I can live off of cereal. I have to. This is my cooling system. Real simple. It uses the fact that on the moon, exterior is a non-atmosphere. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere. It does have what scientists call an exosphere. It means there are some gas particles wandering around, but it's not dense enough for the particles to interact with each other. So you won't get wind on the moon. You might get particles moving from A to B, but it's a statistical thing, and you're not going to be measuring with an anemometer. Anyway, lunar atmospheric dust experimentation is something I was once involved with. Fun. That told me everything I needed to know to be comfortable with coming here to the moon and living. It was on the outside. We didn't cover this when we were outside, but I've placed my radiators away from the wall. I could have sunk them half into the wall, but I made my pipe go out a little bit further, and they seem to work better. How this works is, when this valve is open, air is being freely exchanged between the base and the pipes that go outside of the radiators, which means they're in thermal equilibrium. And as we radiate heat away from the outside, the cold gases interact with the atmosphere here, and it cools the base very slowly. And at some point, the base gas temperature here, this is a air sensor, it will report we're cool. Get down to, like, I think it's a 24C is what I've got it set for. At that point, the program running in this chip will say, oh, well, we need to stop cooling, so we're going to turn off this valve. It will stop the heat exchange. Downside is the stuff on this side, on the outside of that valve, is going to continue cooling, and if it liquefies or solidifies, we could burst pipes. So the other thing that happens is, at some point, we open this vacuum pump and start pulling all the gases out. So if there's no gases in the pipe, we pull a vacuum there, pull all the gases out into the base. There's nothing to freeze, there's nothing to liquefy, there's nothing to solidify, it just works. So it's a pretty simple cycle. Get down to 24, we close the valve and pump the gas out. When we warm back up to 26, we open the valve. And obviously we turn off the pump when there's a vacuum in there. And we've got this sensor here which is telling us exactly what's going on inside that pipe. That will read zero pressure when we're too cool, and when we're warm it will track what's going on in the base. Which is basically some carbon dioxide, a bunch of nitrogen, and mostly oxygen. The oxygen-nitrogen mix is because most of the atmosphere came from me digging up oxide and melting it. Oxide gives you like 90% oxygen and 10% nitrogen. Over time, our soybeans have been using up the nitrogen. And I can always pull in more from outside if I need to. Or I could toss some nitrice in here. But if I toss in some nitrice, that also brings nitrous oxide. And if the nitrous oxide levels get too high, I can't take off my helmet inside the. So that would require me doing another bit of filtration to grab the nitrous oxide and take it out, which might be too slow. So what I would prefer to do is have an external source of nitrogen, which I do over there, and just pump it in. Something like what I've done here with the carbon dioxide. Obviously, I can't bring it in on that wall because I've already used it. But somewhere I'll bring in some nitrogen, maybe along this wall. Oh, and we do have power coming in on that wall soon. That covers this. This guy, real simple, air filtration unit. Suck air in from the base, capture oxygen, push the oxygen into a tank, and anything that's not oxygen goes vents back out into this. And that's controlled with a chip. It will stop when the tank is over 8 megapascals. Tank goes up quickly, so it goes, you see there it went up to 8131 kilopascals before we got it shut off. That's okay, that's got some margin. And of course, as the tank heats and cools, the pressure is going to change, PV equals nRT. We can put that in our suit and breathe it, because that's just pure oxygen, which is just perfect for our... I have a shelf here for things I might need but not soon. So for instance, I've got a couple of spare batteries here. Put some big batteries in equipment that had small batteries, and I printed enough batteries. I just put the spares up here. Why is he 100% and he was showing green instead of... like putting fully charged batteries in the... I still have some iron sheets and frames. I'm mostly over on steel. Occasionally you need iron. So for instance, where I have iron frames, if I wanted to weld them up, I'd need iron sheets. I may want to use iron frames from time to time. Anyway, no point in throwing them out. I've got some. I printed more chutes and more stackers than I needed. Basically, I started the printer going on stackers. I got distracted and I heard it go ka-thunk, and there was 10 of them, so I turned it off real quick. Oh, and portable solar panel. I have not used the solar panel on the moon today, well, since I landed. But those come in handy. You're running around doing some mining, and maybe your tracker runs out of juice, so you pop a battery in the solar charger there, so you've got decent batteries. Now, you're always carrying enough pieces of equipment with enough batteries you can juggle them around. But if you get a flat battery, you might as well put it out there and have it charge. Shelf of stuff I want to look at as I go out the door. I still have boxes of cereal and water that I started with. I've dipped into the water bottle. I haven't even finished the pouch of cereal that was in capsule. So these were on the lander. I think the reason why I haven't finished this off is because I printed a couple of cereal bars. Food up. Now, as soon as I finish drinking all the water, I will start going over here and using the water fountain to quench my thirst. And once I have finished, I think I will start cooking when I'm down to one box of cereal on the shelf. So I'll keep that box for emergency. Let's say something happens, I blow out the base. That'll give me a box of cereal that I can live off of until I get my plants going again. I will think about margin. This upper area is fairly clean and fairly empty, so I don't have any huge amounts of lockers. Because next level down, now anything above that needs to be on a frame, I've put along the rim. Next level down, I've got basically, this is storage. Got a whole bunch of shelves I've put in. I've got a oxygen tank and a pellet tank. This actually has volatiles in it. Use this in welding torch. I've completely shifted over the arc torch, but I decided instead of draining these and doing something with it, keep these tanks in reserve. I did dip into the oxygen tank early on. He's not exactly 7.81 megapascals. This guy is at. Carrying my tablet. My tablet's upstairs in the box. Anyway, and I put a bunch of shelves here. As I obsoleted equipment, I just put it down the shelf. I will be recycling this. For instance, I've got a better tool belt, mining belt, better furnaces. Don't need the solid generator. Better solar panels. I'm going to use a water fountain instead of the water bottle filter. Tracking beacon I started with. The second one that I printed by mistake when I was trying to print the main beacon. You've got containers and the container mounts that we started with, which I used for a while, and then I got rid of because I wanted to use shelves instead. We have a water canister that came with my hydroponics gear. Emptied it, and I expected to be able to tear it down, and I was wrong, so we have a water canister available to us. Empty. We've got some empty filters, empty spray cans, pill. I don't know what the pill is going to be used for. Let me just put it up. When we tore apart the capsule door, got a wreckage. The door gave us wreckage. Capsule itself didn't. The lander itself didn't, but the door gave us one bead of wreckage. So I have that. I'll recycle that when I get a chance. We've got a fire extinguisher. It says fire extinguisher reusable. If you put it in your hand, it makes a noise like it's going off. Pickaxe. That's useful early on if your mining drill runs out of power and you just want to get one more thing. I'm no longer carrying it because now I've got a heavy mining drill with a big battery, and if my big battery is running low, I just come back because I don't have enough inventory to store everything I can mine on a full battery. Grow light. May use grow light. Probably won't, but might. So road flares and small flags. Small flag, I was hoping, put it in the ground and label it and then be able to see it from a distance and see what it was. So I could label iron and copper. Haven't worked out how to do that. Road flares. We've got all the other junk. I never really opened up these boxes early on. I moved so quickly to get my base set up. I didn't need my portable air conditioner, for example. I was careful with it. I delayed pressurizing the base until I had enough oxide to do. So I didn't use any nitrice. I didn't put any poisons in, so I didn't really need the air conditioner package. Actually, that's not air conditioner. That's the scrubber. Air conditioner I haven't messed with because I don't know how to recharge the tank. I think you just give it really cold nitrogen. Haven't needed it though because my little passive cooling system upstairs is working perfectly. Portable generator. There was a lot of coal handy, so I just put down the normal solid generator. Burns coal. Portable scrubber, which we didn't use. Flare gun, road flare, mining charges, mining belt. Spare mining belt would come in handy, but now that's an older mining belt, and I've already got one. Residential supplies, I peeled out the container mounts. Obviously, I peeled out the lockers, and I've used those, and I've printed more, and I've used those, and I've printed even more. One more thing I peeled out of there. I guess it was the table. So those are sitting there in case I need them. We have spray paint, 3 different colors. White I'm using for oxygen, green for nitrogen, gray for carbon dioxide. Over here I have, type stuff that I need to have handy, but I don't need to have it upstairs. So things like pipes, insulated pipes, extra pumps, and so on. Some of this was printed by mistake. For instance, I printed a liquid volume pump when a regular volume pump, and I printed a insulated gas pipe utility when I needed a pipe utility gas. I printed a utility liquid when I needed a utility gas. Yeah, all that. Anyway, so these tend to come in handy. Sometimes I'll build something and use them, and I'll unbuild it. I don't need any more and get. But that's this storage area in the stairwell. Bottom level, I haven't really started on. What I want to do is move some of my automation down here. So a fully automated air plant would be a great thing to have down here. Something to control my atmospheric pressure, my temperature, how much oxygen is in the atmosphere, how much nitrogen, how much carbon dioxide. Get that all going down. Automate the whole. Now, I think that way is the front. Yeah, that's north. That's north. That's the greenhouse end. And this is south. This is the front porch. I've actually extended this out under the front porch. This white frame you see here, it's kind of my marker. So the white frame is kind of beyond here lies maybe not sealed stuff. So as I moved forward from there, I had to be very careful. But I believe I have extended my base out 2 squares from there. Yeah, 4 squares. Which means that, for instance, over here, above me, over here are my supplies of carbon dioxide and nitrogen. Bring those in. And as far as oxygen is concerned, that comes from hydroponics tank. That's which are up on the top level. So what we'll do is we'll just use the hydroponics to make sure we have all of the oxygen we want. And perhaps when we can automate this with a Larry or something, put that on a different floor. So it needs sunlight, guys. Put it on a different floor. I'm going to need to have grow lamps. I'm going to automate the grow lamps. I'm going to need to automate the wallet. So a hydroponics farm underground for production of food and oxygen will be a big undertaking. And farm up here until it is working properly. So what we do in our atmosphere plant down here, I'm thinking, watch our partial pressure of carbon dioxide. And if the partial pressure of carbon dioxide gets too low, bring in more CO2. By partial pressure, I mean if our atmosphere is 10% CO2 and we're at 80 kilopascals, that's an 8 kilopascal partial pressure of CO2. And we'll work out what the proper partial pressure is for CO2. Same thing for nitrogen. So add more to bring their partials up. Then, if our total pressure of the base is too high, we will vent gas outward, bring ourselves back down. So if that happens, what's going to happen is we'll vent the base down, and we'll obviously lose some oxygen and some nitrogen and some carbon dioxide, vent it down, bring back more carbon dioxide and more oxygen. So it'll kind of balance it out. I could also explicitly have filters for taking carbon dioxide and nitrogen out of the base if we get too much. I don't think that's going to happen. Taking things out of the base that are nasty, pollutants, volatiles, nitrous oxide, anything else we don't want. It could very well be that what I'd end up with is an air plant that constantly takes air from the base, vents oxygen back into the oxygen system, nitrogen back into the nitrogen system, and CO2 back into the CO2 system. So we'll have some way of piping those around. And then when we get a proper atmosphere there, those go back into the base and everything else gets dumped. So air plant could be quite complicated, and maybe it will require more than a 2x4 area, 2x5 area. So I've already dug out below this. I like the 2 trenches ideas that are in the paperwork I saw from Video Gamer. So glad those papers were stuck in my capsule before I left. They've really given me some ideas. It gives us a natural way to have a floor, some things that require frames, and then a floor where we just have some storage tucked in next to the stairwell. And then below that is the floor that is large again and has some frames, and so on. But we can continue to build downward like this. We can also go outward. The floors can get bigger. Notice I have no interior doors, so this is all one big happy shirt sleeve atmosphere. So if I puncture the base, it's the whole base. And this thing requires quite a lot of oxide to refill. Anyway, that's how we're doing. It has been a whole bunch of solar cycles. Now, I don't know. Have I been here 10 years? It seems like I've been here very long. I mean, I mined up all of the iron and coal and silicon and copper and gold. Print all of this stuff, all of these frames, all of these walls, all these windows, all the silicon for plastic. Mostly I kind of, once I had the beacon going, I kind of went, far away. Before that, I went, a good, decent distance. So the terrain around us is relatively untouched. I kind of went a ways away using the beacon to get back to dig my holes. I didn't really want to have my base area pockmarked. I do have the one crater that my base is extending out over. It made it a lot easier to not have to dig things. But we've been here a very long time. And I'm hoping that my recording system, like I said, y'all sent me here without a radio. And I was beginning to wonder if maybe this little hand recorder that I'm using to record this log entry, does this report back? Can you send me some company? I mean, help? Please?